White Sox baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. And we are coming to you from Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts, where tonight Jose Abreu and Ricky Renteria's White Sox get set to take on a very young, a very talented, and a first-place Boston Red Sox club. And hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Ken Harrelson with Steve Stone as we get set to bring you Game 2 of this four-game set. In the opener last night, they beat us 9-5. Not a good outing. Miguel Gonzalez has been pitching very well. Last night was just not his evening. But on the other side of that field, Andrew Benintendi is showing why he is just an up-and-coming star.
There's no doubt that Benintendi is going to be a bigger star than he is now, and last night he showed you a glimpse of the future. He was 3 for 3, a couple of doubles last night, and consistently hit the ball right on the button. This is one hopped around the 420 mark. Then he took one high off the green monster. He had a tough time running the bases, but outside of that, he hit the ball exceptionally well, and this is going to be one of the better young players around.
Well, we had a young player last night. Very special moment for him.
Really exciting for Nicky Delmonico because he hit his first major league home run, and last night he got every bit of a hanging slider. I mean, he absolutely crushed this ball. It's a 3-run homer, and at the time it made it 7-5. It looked like the Red Sox were going to run away and hide, but a big night by Nicky Delmonico made sure it was a little bit closer and stayed that way for a while as he gets a silent treatment before everybody comes on board congratulating him for this historic moment.
Couple of left-handers out on that bump tonight.
A couple of young left-handers on the mound, one coming back from some knee problems, one coming back from some early season physical problems. That's Carlos Rodon. So last time out against Cleveland, he was very good. 6 2/3. He gave up just 1 run against a very good Cleveland team. Eduardo Rodriguez at Fenway Park, he's 1-0 with a 3.30 ERA, keeps dislocating his knee. So we'll see tonight if he has good stuff or not. We know Rodon's going to have good stuff, hopefully following up his performance last time out.
All right, Game 2 of this four-game set. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
By Toyota, the national clearance event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, through it all. By Lexus, who encourages you to experience amazing. And by Miller Lite, the original light beer. Miller Lite, hold true.
Welcome back to Fenway Park in Boston. It's a beautiful night for baseball as the Red Sox, who picked up a game on the Yankees and lead them by 2 games coming into action tonight. The Red Sox have won 3 games in a row. The Yankees have lost 3 games in a row. And they're sending a young left-hander to the mound tonight. So here is the White Sox lineup, brought to you by the Webb Auto Group. For the best lineup of Chevys, Fords, Mitsubishis, Genesis, and Hyundais at the best price, go to webcars.com. Tim Anderson leading it off, playing shortstop, and it's Tyler Saladino, the DH tonight, with Jose Abreu. Kevin Smith in the cleanup spot. Larry Garcia, Yoan Moncada, Nicky Delmonico coming off his first home run of his career. Then Adam Engel and Yolmer Sanchez at third base and hitting 9th. The defense and how they're going to line up. Andrew Benintendi in left field. Then it's Jackie Bradley and Mookie Betts left to right with Rafael Devers, Xander Bogaerts, Eduardo Nunez, and Hanley Ramirez at first base. Christian Vasquez behind the plate. And our Lexus Experience Amazing starting pitcher is Eduardo Rodriguez. He's on for his 14th start, his 15th game. There you see it. He's had some knee issues since coming back off the disabled list. He's been okay. Not overly good, not bad. So we're ready to kick it off. I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Stoney, thank you. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball and the first pitch of the ball game. That's fouled away right side, Souvenir. Anderson leading it off. Tim coming in, hitting it .235, 9 homers, 30 knocked in. Eduardo Rodriguez out of Valencia, Venezuela. 24 years old, 6'2", 222 pounds.
Doesn't throw many straight changes, but he will throw a curve and a slider both.
There's a strike and a count very quickly, 0-2.
He's at the point of his career where he's trying to strike out a whole lot of hitters, and he's trying to do it most of the time instead of looking for a first pitch out every now and then.
Most of the time, young guys, it takes them a while to learn that.
Yeah, if they've got a good arm, they want to show it to you each and every pitch, and the act is called pitching, not throwing.
That ball hit hard into right field, but they got a man there. It's a hang Wolfham for Anderson.
We'll take a look at the umpires for the game tonight. Marvin Hudson has the plate. Mike Estabrook at first, Dan Bellino at second, and the crew chief Jerry Lane, who had a really good night behind the plate last night, he's at third base tonight. And the man on the mound, Eduardo Rodriguez, once traded even up for none other than Andrew Miller. So you think he was a highly thought of prospect? Well, you get traded for even up for Andrew Miller? Yes.
That's a little bit low to Tyler, the DH tonight. 2 for 4 last evening. Another glorious day here in New England. Just a beautiful, beautiful evening. This is the 5th meeting of the year between the two clubs. In the first 4, the Red Sox have won 3 of them. Softly hit. So with 2 out, let's check out our picks to click. Fans going with Tim Anderson. Crew's going with Tyler. Steve's going with Lurie, and JJ and Jessica Shearer and I, along with David Novak, we're going to go with Kevin Smith. Here's Abreu, 0 for 4 last evening. Takes first pitch strike. Abreu at .292, 19 homers, 68 driven ins. Our Sox hitting at .254 as a club with a 4.21 ERA.
Rodriguez, a countryman of Ozzie Guillen. He is born and raised in Venezuela, signed as a free agent by the Orioles in 2010. and was a three-sport athlete growing up. Soccer and basketball, the other two, along with baseball.
Well, the town he comes from, Valencia, they put out quite a few major leaguers. Not as many as San Pedro de Macorís.
Well, that's
the Dominican.
Yeah, that's absolutely astonishing that a relatively small place could be that prolific in just spitting out professional player after professional player.
Yeah, played in Valencia. Yeah, and it was a nice little town, nice people, and great water skiing in that lake there. If you didn't run across the crocodiles.
That's a problem.
That's the well. Funny thing about it is that if you ski down to the west end of the lake there, you're going to run into some crocodiles.
Well, you know, the big advantage is it gives you a lot of incentive to stay up on your skis.
Well, that's what I say. The key is don't fall.
It's absolutely not.
That's the moral of that story. But you got to do it just to see if you can handle it. Watch out. Two out, 2 balls, 2 strikes here in the top of the first. If you're just joining us, game 2 of this 4-game series. The Sox took the opener last night 9-5. And a full count. And another foul ball. Outfield just slightly to the right. There's a nice gap out there in left center if he can find it. There's a rocket sucked up by Devers. Boy, I tell you, he made that play look easy, and it was not that easy. Meanwhile, a 1-2-3 inning after a half inning of play, our guys nothing, and their guys coming to bat.
It off, and Andrew Benintendi in the 2 spot. Then it's Nunez and Ramirez along with Devers, Bogarts, Chris Young getting the start as a DH tonight with Christian Vasquez, who has been red hot in a 6-game hitting streak, and Jackie Bradley Jr. rounding it out. The defense, and now they'll line up behind Carlos Rodon left to right. It's Nicky, Adam, and Liuri in the outfield with Sanchez, Anderson, Moncada, and Abreu in the infield. Kevin Smith behind the plate. And our Lexus experienced amazing starting pitcher is Carlos Rodon, who had a great timeout last time out. He's 1-4, his ERA up over 5. If he continues to throw like he did last time, he's going to be in good shape. This is his 7th start, so he should start to feel like it's just the beginning of the season. He's come out of spring training. He should be fairly strong right now. Let's hope he has a good night tonight against a very strong Boston club.
First pitch to Mookie Betts. Taken for a ball. Mookie at 272, 18 homers, 69 knocked in. Hit a home run last night, and it was a bomb. Johan's got him. 1 out.
It's pretty interesting that when Moncada came over here, one of the criticisms of him, and again, he's so very young and is so very young that it's hard to criticize him too much, but the concern was the defense, and we've seen by some of the defensive plays he's made that they worked very hard with him when they got him over here, and he just took to it, and now he's a good defender. Devers had the same problem. They thought Devers at third would have the same problem, but that play he just made was terrific.
Here's Andrew. Benintendi takes strike one. Well, that's been Johan's most impressive skill.
Oh, he's been absolutely terrific
with the leather.
Yep.
But of course, you don't get $30 million with leather.
As a glove man hitting, yeah, no, you got to hit, and he will hit.
Oh, he's going to hit.
Yeah.
It's all there. I mean, it's all there. It's just a work in progress. That's what it is. Oh, look at that snap by Carlos. That's a hang whooping for Andrew.
Nice job by Carlos Rodon. You never really know how hard it's hit. You throw the glove up and you just hope. And that time, he not only threw the glove up, but he got down under the line drive. So even if he doesn't catch it, it's not going to hit him. And that's a good policy.
Well, what Yolmer was asking with his sense of humor, Yolmer said, hey, do you have to go inside real quick?
No, and we'd like you to charge those from now on. Just don't wait back on those.
Go inside and change.
That can happen too.
You know, it amazes me how fast that ball's getting back to pitchers today. We're seeing a lot of pitchers get hit.
That's the biggest problem with the increased exit velocities. Is not a pitcher doesn't care if the home run goes 470 or 450. It's irrelevant. It doesn't care how quickly it gets out or how far it goes. What he cares about is how quickly it comes back to him, and that's what the exit velocities, the stronger hitters, the maple bats, as well as maybe a little bit harder baseball.
Two 2-0 the count to Eduardo Nunez, who was 2 for 5 last night with an RBI. There's a strike, says Marvin Hudson.
If he has that kind of plate all night long, you're going to have some happy pitchers, and this game will move along.
I was thinking about it this morning. Going on my iPad a little bit. I don't know, maybe it's just us talking about it so much. That ball hit hard right at him. That's a hang wolf. A couple of hang wolfums right there. And a 1-2-3 inning for Carlos.
all of our viewers watching on Cooperative Telephone Exchange in Stanhope, Iowa. So you were talking about this morning going over your iPad.
Yeah, you know,
using.
Can you, if you thought about it, we talked about it a little bit last night. I don't ever recall seeing this many 3-2 counts. I mean, it seems like instead of the pitch counts getting a little lower, they're getting higher.
What's happening, Hawk, and what I've seen, it's mostly the younger pitchers, is that they'll get strike one and strike two without a great deal of difficulty. Then they start to nip, and now you miss low and away, and now you miss up and in, and now you miss away again, and before you know it, it is 3-2. Where the veteran pitchers will get you 2 strikes, no waste pitches, they go right at you.
Well, that's the old Drysdale and Dodger theory. If you can get them in 1, get them in 1. If you can get them in 2, get them in 2. If it takes 3, get them in 3.
Yeah, I don't like the waste pitch at all because it's useless. I like something really close that's tantalizing.
There's a strike 2. Kevin, no, I don't ever, and I was thinking about it. I just don't ever recall seeing this many pitches being thrown in the ball game. That's one reason the games are taking so long. And you're right, because it's primarily the young pitchers, and we got them on our staff. They go 3-2, 3-2. First of all, they get strike 1, then they go 1-1, then they go 2-1, then they go 3-1, then they go 3-2, and now, you know,
foul off a couple of pitches. Now suddenly you got an 8-9 pitch at bat.
Exactly.
And you're not going deep in that game.
Ball hit sharply to, oh my goodness, jumped up and bit him.
That hit right off his throwing hand, and we'll have to see. He could be hurt, and if it catches a finger, he's got some problems.
It caught a finger, no question about that.
He's going in. He's still feeling the effects of that, and we'll show it again. It's going to be E6. It just eats him up and then hits off what looked like his thumb, actually.
Yep, there's nothing you can do as an infielder about that. We'll take it. And here's Leary hitting a .294, 7 homers, 24 driven in. I still think the largest part of that with these young pitchers is the fact coming out of high school and college where there's composite bats, aluminum bats. They just, some of them just absolutely get afraid of the bat.
Well, especially trying to throw inside for strikes, because with the composite bats, it's a little bit more difficult to jam people. You're certainly not going to break it.
Well, you get to the point that some of the vernacular, so to speak, some of the rhetoric, some of the dialogue that has been in baseball for a long time is no longer prevalent. And one of the things is pitching to contact. You get a lot of guys who do not want to even think about pitching to contact. As you talked earlier about Rodriguez, he wants to strike everybody out because he has a good arm.
There's another factor which comes to it, and it depends on the team you play with, but if you're playing on a really bad defensive team, you're going to think about striking out more people than if you're playing on a team that you know is going to catch everything behind you. If you're playing on a good defensive team, you want to throw ground balls. You don't mind throwing fly balls because you know they're going to be caught.
Well, that's in the right field. So Mookie Betts makes the play. Well, a lot of times it's not these young pitchers' fault because players are not handled today the same way they were 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And when you get to that situation, the manager, the coaches, they don't have anywhere near the leverage that they had in years past because these guys are making too much money.
Well, that's true, and
they're just making too much. So if they don't want to listen to it, and they didn't grow up with it, or they didn't have a coach in high school or college that pounded, that's the last leverage really that pitchers have over their heads is in college. They have to listen to the coaches there. When they sign for a big bonus and make a lot of money and they don't have to listen to coaches. Or I'll put it this way, they won't if they don't want to. Those days of, hey, You throw strikes, or tomorrow you're going to be throwing them down in Charlotte. They're gone.
That's the same thing with a whole lot of aspects of the game. When you're making the kind of money that a lot of these guys are making today, the team is going to run you out there, and they want to get some value for the dollars expended. You can't blame them for that.
No. Well, these kids are throwing a lot of pitches in high school and college. You got high school pitchers throwing more pitches in a week than major league pitchers.
That happens a lot.
Sure. I mean, you know, and all of a sudden these kids are throwing, some of them are throwing over 200 pitches in a week. They get to the big leagues and they're okay. Now you're going to limit you. We're going to Houston, that organization especially. You're only going to pitch 5 innings. You're only going to throw 65, 70 pitches. They put the limit on there. And all of a sudden that fastball starts losing velocity. And it's a known fact that once guys get into professional baseball, their velocity goes down. Where it should be going up a little bit, if anything, but it doesn't. It goes down. Right side hit softly. So Moncada is retired. Kevin into second.
Let's take a look at StatCast, powered by AWS, and we'll go back to last night. A rolling breaking ball out of the ballpark. Exit velocity 105.5 miles per hour. Launch angle. It was more a line drive, so it's only a little over 26 degrees. And there is finally people congratulating him on his first major league home run.
Little phantom high fives there. Well, I asked Nicky before the game, were your parents watching last night? He said, oh yeah. So a very special night for them.
Was that now he's got to go head to head with a left-hander with pretty good stuff. That's one of the things that a young hitter would love to show to the organization, that he's not overmatched lefty. That'll get you more play.
Well, the first thing is that Trick, Todd Stevenson, our hitting coach, and Ricky Venturilla, who was the #1 draft pick at one time. First thing they want to see is how he reacts against the left-hander. And I think with Nicky, I don't think there's going to be any tentativeness, so to speak. I think he's over that. Now, does that mean he's going to get him? No, but at least he's going to have a shot. When you're tentative, being a left-handed hitter against, there's Ty, against good stuff from a left-hander, you got no chance.
Well, if Rodriguez throws another one right there, this is going to be a quick at bat, because that was a perfect pitch. Not necessarily on the outside corner, but pretty close to it and unhittable.
Good rip. Good rip.
That one he made a mistake. That one caught the whole plate. Nicky had a good swing at it, fouled it straight back. He was trying to throw it away again, but this time doesn't get there.
You can see that first move with the front leg. That leg is not going towards first base. That leg is going towards the pitcher. Now feel straight up. I liked what I saw of Delmonico in spring training.
He burst on the scene in spring training and showed pretty quickly that he had a good chance of being a factor this year, because granted it was his third organization, but he's still a young hitter. But he showed in spring training he had some very good at bats, and it looked like he would get his opportunity this year, and that's what happened.
Well, you just framed it perfectly. He had some really good at bats. That's what you want. Watch out. That's what you want. As Tilly Davis, the Red Sox hitting coach, and I were talking yesterday, all he wants is his guys to go up there and have 4 good at bats. That's all. You don't have to go 2 for 4. Sometimes you don't even have to get a hit. Just have 4 good at bats to where you're dangerous. That's all you can ask of, especially young hitters.
Well, if you can convince them to swing at strikes, which is easier said than done, but if they're swinging at strikes, then it will be a good at bat. You know yourself, you expand that zone too much, and sometimes you get over anxious when you're not hitting and do that. Self-defeating prophecy.
It is. Everything is self-induced. Got him. He's going to ask Marvin Hudson why. Meanwhile, after an inning and a half, no score.
Yesterday, hitting off the tee went well. Rick Renneria said today that he actually is hopeful. He's not certain, but he's hopeful that he might be able to skip a rehab assignment. They're going to go. He hit again today. They are looking at possibly tomorrow hitting live batting practice. They want to see how Avi responds. They're going to talk to him again tonight, but they're encouraged. The inflammation has subsided a little bit, obviously to the point where he's hitting, and they're upbeat about it. And because it's only been 7-8 days at this point, they're hopeful he could skip a rehab assignment. They're not certain again, but you know, they obviously would like to get his bat back in the lineup and get him restarted again and keep going. So it's something to be monitored here for the next day or two.
You also had an extensive conversation with Chris Sale, and tell us a little bit about what was on Chris's mind.
Yeah, Chris Sale, we caught up with him actually yesterday before the game, and you know, it was one thing we couldn't catch up with him in Chicago because there was so much media coverage and only 4 of us here yesterday, and talked to him for about 15-20 minutes, and he's very happy. You can just sense it. He's excited about where he is. He's also looked around. There were not a lot of White Sox teammates left for him.
He was looking for somebody to shake hands with. Huh?
He was. There were only a few people. He was spending a lot of time with the staff, but he did say he's heard a lot of good things. Obviously, he was with Rick Renneria last year when Renneria was the bench coach, and he said that from the guys that he's talked to, he really hears that the tone is good and that there's a good foundation being set. And so he thinks with the way the White Sox are headed, with the direction and all the young talent coming in, that having Rick Renneria there is a good piece to have, and things can be very good here in the next couple of years. And so he's obviously caught up in his own pennant race here and mostly focused on Boston, but he was encouraged by what the White Sox have done and knows the business side of baseball.
Sure he does. How about Addison Reed?
Fewer teammates left from his time here. He's doing great. He thought there was about a 95% chance that he was going to be traded because he's a reliever, because the Mets were not going to make the postseason. He's thrilled to be here and looking at yet another postseason. He just got to town a few days ago and is getting settled in, but has Chris Sale obviously as a teammate again, and he's in a good spirit.
That ball hit in the right field. That's a can of corn for Leroy. Well, you know, I talked to Addison after the game last night, and I told him, I said, you've added about 6-8 inches on that fastball. He says, yeah, I'm throwing it well.
Changed everything. I think it was the 2014 season where he was struggling in Arizona and really kind of modified. One, he knew how much he had to get quicker to the plate because runners were taking advantage of him. And I think he reworked a lot of command stuff there. He worked with the Mets. Everything that he learned in Arizona, he took to the Mets and really refined it and has redefined himself the last couple of years, and been dominant.
Well, that inning we saw last night, Steve and I were talking, that's the best we've seen him throw in a long time.
Yeah, he was throwing it well, and I think it's interesting. He is a result of a completely different trading deadline body of deals, being that in years past, the trade deadline, a lot of people were looking for the big bat. I need to add a bat. I need to add a power right-hand hitter, a big left-hand hitter, whatever the case may be. It was relievers this year. I mean, this year, everybody was going, I got to help my bullpen. I got to get a reliever or two relievers.
It's going to be like that almost every year in the future.
That's what it'll be.
It's a battle of bullpens now.
And we saw only one major starting pitcher out there. Number one, I think, if Darvish is going as well as he can. Sonny Gray obviously is a big guy too, but as somebody said, there's not the big Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee trades out there like they used to. It's all bullpen. I mean, the White Sox knew that there was a big market for that, and that's why they wanted to strike so early and package their guys with that Yankee trade, because they knew, hey, there might be 20, 30 relievers out there.
Well, you have to applaud Rick and Kenny both for striking early with every guy that they wanted to move, and consequently getting the best return you could get, because look at the Jose Quintana situation. There were so many teams that wanted him that Rick struck early and felt that he got the best package he could possibly get from the Cubs, and he made that deal.
And getting that move out of the way probably cleared up. When you have that as your best asset, it has to clear the calendar a little bit and make it easier to go on to some of these other moves, which they were focused with Canely, knowing to wrap him in with Todd Frazier, because there really weren't a whole lot of position players moved out there. It was very quiet on that front, and moving Frazier was something that everybody, I think, knew the White Sox had to do, and they were able to kind of package him together with Robertson and Canely.
But it came down to this. If Canely's not included in that deal, odds are they don't get Rutherford, and Rutherford was the big chip coming back from the Yankees, and we'll see a lot of him. He's going to be a very good player, and he hits left-handed, which is the key. And by putting them all together, you got a bigger return from the Yankees than you would normally get.
And they've got 3 or 4 that, I mean, Eloy Jimenez obviously just got named minor league player of the month for the organization, and 14 games, had a month's worth of success basically, and he's been off to a great start with the White Sox. And Luis Robert just returned the other day and has continued doing well at the Dominican Republic, and obviously Moncada's here.
Well, the thing right now as it stands, all these guys obviously are stay with us a little bit longer. As he strikes him out, Bogarts 1-2-3 inning, a 6 up 6 down for Rodon.
.com, presented by The Great Escape. Whether it's pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, or more, escape your everyday. Shop The Great Escape, and we are most pleased to tell you that we have held over Dan Hayes for return engagement this half inning.
Well, what we were just getting ready to discuss a little bit is obviously all our guys not going to make it. The good ones we traded for.
Right.
But we're in a position right now with just say a third of them. Just a third of them make it. In 2 to 3 years, this club's got a chance to be a monster.
And that was the point I think Rick Hahn has tried to emphasize, is that accumulate. And obviously they're going to have another high draft pick after this season too. So you're looking at a top 5 player being added on. We haven't even talked about Jake Berger all that much, even though he's been tearing it up. Their first-round pick from this year down in Kannapolis, and they're going to throw in a player with a higher ceiling than that on top of this already. Obviously, when you look at prospect rankings, Yohan Moncada is going to graduate from this class because he'll lose his prospect status by the end of the year. He'll no longer be a rookie, but there will be more coming in behind this, and that's what their aim is to keep piling on more guys. And they still have a few chips here and there to potentially trade over the next couple of years, and you never know what they'll sign in the offseason. The idea was to take a shot with Derek Holland and maybe flip him for a prospect, but they want to keep adding so that they can sustain this and not run into depth issues that they've had over the last couple of years.
Well, another issue too, Dan, is the fact that with all the money that they're saving now by trading those guys, they're going to have a nice little piece in that bank when they want to go out and get a free agent.
There are some very nice free agent classes coming up there in 2019 and 2020, and Rick Hahn has addressed that a little bit and said, we know not everything's going to work out, so we'll know where we need to spend to replace, because you've seen it. You've seen it with the Cubs, where John Lester was a necessary piece for the Cubs to go out and get, and Jason Hayward they felt was a necessary piece, so they went out and spent because they had so many players around the diamond that were affordable. And the White Sox know that they will have to spend as the kind of final piece to when they want to contend again.
Well, that's the double-edged positive sword right there. All right, Dan, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And get some more stuff and come back and see us tomorrow.
Do what I can.
Okay, all right, Dan Hayes, CSNChicago.com. As here's Yolmer. Engel had a hang with him, a line shot to center field as that is fouled away right side. No balls, 2 strikes here in the top of the 3rd inning. No runs, no hits, no errors for us. No runs, no hits, 1 error for them. That's well off the plate.
Early in this game, there's been a lot of line drives, and yet they've all gone at people, meaning there is a double no-hitter at this point, but it's not from lack of hitting the ball hard. It's just been hit right at the defenders.
That ball hit hard. Back, he looks up, and it is off the wall. So Yolmer, you can cancel the post-game show.
And how about that throw by Jackie Bradley Jr.?
He can throw.
He can throw. He was out by the wall on the one hop, Karam off the wall, and carried it all the way to third base as Yolmer crushes this ball. So the double no-hitter goes by the boards. There's still one going. That's owned by Carlos Rodon.
That's Yolmer's 13th 2-bagger.
And Bradley heats it up and gets it there, serving notice that you might not want to run on him too much tonight.
Edgar Magallanes was the first one to know about that. It's up close and personal.
That's for sure.
Filling in for Nick Capra. Is that ball fouled away right side? Yeah, I love to watch outfielders who can throw.
Well,
when they know where to throw and how to throw.
Yeah, it's not near as prevalent these days as it was. Used to be. There was a lot of guys in your outfield that threw, and you worked on it just about every day. These days, it's not quite as much. So the big arms really stand out today as opposed to in years past, especially right fielders' arms. Used to be every right fielder just about in the game had a huge arm, and you just didn't want to run on them. And these days, that's not quite as much.
I remember the '75 Red Sox when they had Rice in left, Glenn in center, and White, Evans, and right. You didn't run on that outfield.
Nope. And they could all go get them too.
And they were all accurate. I mean, they threw strikes. In '67, when we won the pennant here, we had Yaz in left, Reggie in center, and I was in right. You couldn't run on that outfield either. Aaron Jackson and I were talking about that the other day. Besides having the big arms, all of us hit the cutoff man on plays,
which is essential if you're going to cut down would be base runners.
That's it.
You've got to hit the cutoff man. There's a look at DJ and Ed.
DJ was a good outfielder. As he gets him.
Tim didn't like the pitch. He broke his bat, but it appeared like it was in the zone. We'll take another look, and I think it had the plate.
Yeah, it did.
Tim was unhappy, but you know, he's going to take a look at that. He's going to see the video, and he's going to realize that that ball had the whole plate.
Especially with 2 strikes.
Yep.
Saladino did a little soft line drive to Bogarts. Pick him up, Tyler.
Our Sox hitters haven't taken advantage of it, but with Rodriguez, the first pitch is the preferable pitch to hit.
That's softly into center field, but he's there. That man is a good one. And that'll retire the side. We go to the bottom of the 3rd inning. Still scoreless. And Sox fans, boy, you can have some fun here. Join Ron Kittle, big strong man from Gary, Harold Baines, and others on January 6th for Sox on the Beach with Apple Vacations. Now you can stay 7 nights at the all-inclusive Iberostar, Paraíso del Mar, and beautiful Riviera Maya, Mexico. And there will be a private welcome party and an autograph session, food and drink, special group activities with your White Sox hosts. So visit White Sox Apple Vacations.com/White Sox to book your trip today. You'll have some fun. Well, now Harold is a great listener. As that ball hit hard in the center field, we got a man in there. So Chris Young is retired. The Kittle, well, big man from Gary, you'll have some fun with him too.
Maybe just for your own sanity, bring some earplugs. You can use them later in the night. You know,
I love Ron Kittle. He is, you know what? He's still a big kid. He's never lost his childlike qualities, and there never will.
By the way, do you have any idea how much it cost to get a box seat when you played here in 1967?
$3.50.
Well, that was It was $3 for the box seat. $3.50 was the ones that were. You remember the seats on top of?
Yeah.
That were rung around the stadium. The rooftop seats. They were $3.50.
Well, they didn't have all those seats out there and everything.
No.
Yeah, it was a different kind, different culture. Well, that was still, with the exception of Carl, that was still when managers were the highest paid guy on the club.
Yeah.
Now that's going back a long time.
Yeah, I looked at one of the programs. The guy out front had it. He had the program from
Steve,
1967, and $3 for the premier box seats.
Yeah. Well, you can cancel the post-game show there. First hit for the Carmines.
Vasquez takes it through the right side. This looked like a slider that he was trying to throw on the outside corner, a backdoor slider, and Vasquez just took it into right field.
So he extends his hitting streak to 7, and here is Jackie Bradley Jr. hitting at .260, 10 homers, and check that, 12 home runs and 41 driven in.
Bradley's been very aggressive in the series. He swung at the first pitch a lot, making good solid contact. He did have only one hit last night, but he was very aggressive early in the count, as he was with Carlos on the last pitch.
Getting back to Ron Kittle, you know, his rookie year, he was rookie of the year. He had 35 home runs and drove in 100. And then with all that success that he had, spring training the next season, most of us stayed out at Siesta Key down in Sarasota. Almost after every workout and after every game, he would come back, and there were a lot of children in the pool, including my Krista and Casey. He would play with those kids for an hour, maybe 2, in that pool every day, and they had a ball, and he did too. But he gone.
Well, the hitters are going to know, and I think they're getting a pretty good idea now, that Marvin Hudson's plate is very much a pitcher's plate. So you don't want to leave it in the hands of the umpire. A case could be made for that one sliding around the plate. Bradley thought it was inside, but Marvin's got a good plate. He's got a consistent plate, only it's a pitcher's plate. So anything a couple inches off the corner, you got to go get.
Well, as long as you know it.
Yep.
And that's when you go back to that dugout and you look at your teammates, the boys, swing the bat.
Yeah, the zone is not going to change.
That game we had umpire last night was one of the best we've had all year.
Jerry did a terrific job.
Yeah, Jerry Lane, crew chief here. That's all the hitters want to know. What's his zone? And it's a lot tougher. It's a lot tougher finding out that out today than it was in my time zone, because in my time zone the umpires all had the balloons. So virtually 100% of them were high ball umpires.
American League, it was just a high ball league, and National League was low ball league.
And that'll retire the side. We have completed 3, and we're still scoreless.
wintrust.com/socks to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
I want you to tell me if you know of one club.
Okay.
In today's game, they keep stats on everything, right?
Absolutely everything.
Except umpires. Do you know of one club that tracks umpire strike zones?
I don't know.
I have never heard of one.
I don't know one club that tells you that they do, but I would have to believe, looking for an edge anywhere you can, somebody.
You'd have to.
You would have to, yeah.
Right. You'd have to think that somebody out there would research and track umpire strike zones. So in a meeting, in our case, Todd could tell these guys, look, this guy's tendency is this. He's going to give this guy 2 or 3 inches on the outside part of the plate. So that whereas maybe he might move 2 or 3 inches closer to the plate. I don't know of one that does it. I have not heard of one. Ted Williams wanted to know 3 things. Every morning he would call Helen, who was the telephone operator here, and she knew his routine. He wanted to know which way the wind was blowing. He wanted to know who was pitching for the opposition, and he wanted to know who was the home plate umpire. We went over, when I played here, Dick Williams was the manager. Every game we went over the home plate umpire strike zone. But again, they were almost all 100% high ball umpires.
Well, you also might get them 8, 9, even sometimes 10 times a year. You get the same guy behind the plate when you were working.
That ball hit hard. He turns around, looks up, it's off the wall. So Abreu, he can throw, and he's safe. I'll tell you, it's fun watching Jackie Bradley throw.
He made it a lot closer at second base than you would have thought when Jose left the batter's box. This was a bomb to center field. He got most of it. Bradley does a nice job. You don't get trapped too close to the wall, able to play the carom nicely, and with the bare hand and throw in one motion, it was close at second. That's a terrific play by Bradley. He's had 2 great throws tonight.
So here's Kevin. Kevin's got a job to do in a scoreless game, top of the 4th inning. And all our fans out there know what that job is. And evidently Rodriguez does as well.
Well, just in case Kevin was looking for the ball away, he figured he'd throw one under his chin.
Well, I just found out that we now know a club that tracks umpire strike zones, and it's the Chicago White Sox.
Makes sense to do it. Gives you an advantage.
No question about it.
You wouldn't have.
No question about it.
If it buys you 1 hit early in the game, sometimes that's enough to buy you a ball game.
That's exactly right. And I would say the first thing you would do, starting tracking these umpires, first thing you'd look for, will he call the inside strike? A lot of guys, umpires, will not call the inside strike.
Well, you'll see it a lot when you say that the umpire is going to give you 2-3 inches off the outside corner. They will, and then call the inside strike to the letter, and the reason is they're lined up in the slot. You can see right there Marvin Hudson's in the slot between the hitter and the catcher. He sees that inside corner head on.
Well, I tell you, look at this. Oh no, good play. I'll tell you, their outfield defense is spectacular.
Mookie Betts is a wonderful outfielder. We know that Jackie Bradley is pretty much state-of-the-art in center field, and Benintendi is learning the intricacies of left field here, but he's going to be a good one. And this is a line drive that Betts comes on, takes right off the top of the grass, stays with it, stays low so he can see it, and it won't get in the lights. And what a play. Mookie does that a lot. A good piece of hitting by Kevin Smith. He did exactly what he had to do. He went to right field. Unfortunately, Betts was a little better. First pitch from Rodriguez. He's allowed a slugging percentage of .935. That is very close to the bottom of all the qualified starters, 127 of them. He's 125. So just with that number, it shows you be ready and swing early in the count.
Two and 0. Leary, since coming back and getting into action, has been swinging the bat well. He has hit some shots right at people. Plus, he's picked up some base hits.
And he made a great throw from right field last night to cut down Benintendi at third.
He's just, well, he's the kind of player now that every club needs. He can play anywhere, infield, outfield. He can steal a base for you. Get a gun. And it looks like he is still growing up. He is getting better and better.
Well, there's no doubt, and the more play that he gets, the more consistent he's going to be. That's just the case. If you're a swing man, you get consistent play, he'll groove a stroke, in his case, from both sides of the plate.
And there is ball 4.
Well, the Red Sox can certainly read, and they can look at the scoreboard and they can see that the Indians have taken a 4-0 lead over the Yankees. So as the Red Sox tried to pull away in the race and put more daylight between themselves and the New York Yankees. The Yankees have run into a very hot club, and the Indians starting to play really good, solid baseball.
Well, they are a good, solid team. So here is Yohan.
What a perfect time to pick up his first hit from the right side as a member of our Sox.
Nice pick by Devers. Well, they told us yesterday that man can throw some leather at you. He's just 20 years old.
That was one of the things they worried about, but they haven't seen any defensive problems at all. Here he comes on to try to smother the short hop. It actually doesn't turn out to be a short hop, and that's one of the reasons why he couldn't secure it and get the force at second or think about two. He was stuck then going to first base, but he got the out.
So here is Nicky. Called out on a close pitch that he thought was a ball.
Let's look for a first ball fastball here, because if you get it, that's the one. You got to get him out of a situation where the slider can wipe you out. You got the first ball fastball. That one down and out of the zone, however, but he was thinking along the right lines.
Outfield, they're straight up for the most part. Bit of a gap in left center. Took that pitch nicely.
Two runners in scoring position into this point what has been a scoreless game.
Took that pitch nicely. He's got a nice presence at the plate. And to count 3-1.
Well, now he absolutely should see a fastball, and that should be again what he's sitting on. anything else, you're not going to make solid contact unless he hangs it. So you might as well look for that fastball.
And if he hangs it, you can still get it.
Oh, yeah.
He got it, looking for it, and absolutely put a good pass on it.
You got one right down the middle. He got a pitch to hit. Labor intensive inning, pitch number 20 on the way for Rodriguez.
That ball hit into left field. Stretch! Back at the wall. And it's off the wall. It's going to be a 2-0 Sox lead on the double by Delmonico. Yes!
He had another fastball in the same spot as the 3-1 fastball, only this time he didn't foul it off. This time he took it over Benintende's head. 2 fastballs in a row in the identical same spot. And this one cost him a couple of runs. Good piece of hitting by Nicky. He's driven in 5 in the last game and a half.
Well, I'll tell you, he's got a nice presence at that plate. Don't stop now, boys, as here's Adam. He hit a bullet right at Jackie Bradley Jr. in center field.
There was a good at bat by Delmonico. He waited. He was patient. Got a hittable pitch on 3-1, but Rodriguez came back with the same pitch, and Nicky hit it hard.
Had him way off balance. That changeup.
Rodriguez throws from the extreme third base side of the rubber. It's pitcher preference, how he figures he's going to get a better angle to deliver what he feels is his best pitch.
One pitch. Good rip. Delmonico still very young, just turned 25. We got some good looking young players. As he rings him up, but the 2-out, 2-run double by that man right there, and it's 2-0 good guys. And you can't blame him.
No, you can see why. That was, he tried on a backdoor cutter, and you can tell by Vasquez moving it over to his left that he thought it might have been a touch wide.
Well, a touch means that 17-inch plate was just expanded to about 23, 24 inches.
Long, big corner.
Bad call. Benintendi. Line hit a bullet right back to Carlos. His first at bat. Here's the 2-1. That's softly hit into center field. That man he's got what you call make-up speed. And a reminder that Friday, August 11th is Rock and Roll Night presented by Guaranteed Rate as our White Sox take on the Kansas City Royals at 7:10. And you can join us as we rock out to live cover bands before and during the game. Plus, be sure to stay for the post-game fireworks show. So to get your tickets, visit whitesox.com.
Carlos is picking up here tonight how he left off against the Indians in his last start when he went into the 7th inning. So it's just 1 earned run on 6 hits. And so he looked like the mid-season Carlos Rodon after a first half of pitching consistently last time out. That's why things getting a whole lot better these last 2 starts. He's starting to look more like himself. The slider's very lively, and he's got a better command, more important, a better command of his fastball than he had.
Nunez, he had a bullet right to Engel his first time.
This is just a terrific pickup from San Francisco for a couple of young pitchers.
He gone. Rodon looking like a pup out of Mark Burley, only with better stuff.
He throws a whole lot harder, but they're both the ability to move it all around. That time he threw it under his hands and threw it right by him.
And getting it and throwing it, not shaking off any pitches.
That's the best part of keeping your rhythm. Getting it, and don't allow yourself to fall out of rhythm by taking too many strolls around the mound.
Well, that old saying holds true today. You don't want pitchers thinking. Don't let them think. Make them get it and throw it. Don't give them a chance to think. As here's Ramirez. Hanley went out to right field.
Hanley's awfully strong, and he's been a good hitter for a long time.
He is really strong. That fastball at 96.
That is more the Rodon fastball that we will see going forward. It took him a while. It took him a while to build up the arm strength to get back to being able to throw 96, 97. But when he's feeling right, that's what he throws. Talked to Dave O'Brien, who's the television voice, play-by-play voice of these Red Sox. He said that he had Carlos in a game when he was at North Carolina State in the World Series. He said he looked at times like the men against the boys. He said he was just overwhelming.
Count evens at 2 with 2 down here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Here you go. 5 strikeouts now for Carlos. 1-2-3 inning, and we're into the 5th with that 2-0 lead.
They face the Gwinnett Braves. Coverage begins at 4 or stream the game at csnchicago.com/watch live and on the NBC Sports app.
Yolmer Sanchez picked up our first hit of double in the third inning. 2-3-0 for our guys, 0-1-1 for their guys. There's a strike. Outfield slightly to the right. And that has popped up. Benintendi. And a reminder, our 2017 White Sox are presented by Guaranteed Rate. So for low mortgage rates from your hometown lender, check out rate.com today. Anderson 0 for 2.
Outfield and infield pretty much straight away for Tim. Hit the ball hard his first time up, but lined out right at Mookie Betts.
Gotta hurry. Got him. Good play. Xander Bogaerts. Boy, we have some terrific young shortstops in the American League.
Bogaerts right up there with him. He's just exceptional. Gets rid of the ball very quickly, knowing Anderson can run. Yes, sir. You got Lindor. You have Correa. Great young shortstops.
So here's Saladino. This little soft line drive to Bogaerts and a little soft line drive to Jackie Bradley Jr. in center. Quickly 0-2 the count. Gap out there in left center. Devers backing off the line at third. Pitch was off the plate.
Umpires in the stands wanted this, but it's not a strike. Nicely received by Christian Vasquez, however, as he didn't yank the glove over. He kind of eased it over.
Full count. We were talking about full counts earlier. This is one of the few full counts we've seen in this game.
Lots of called strikes tonight.
Had him 0-2 and walks him. Second walk issued by Rodriguez. First one was last inning. Leary in a good at bat, and he scored.
We talk about young pitchers getting ahead early and then just trying to nip at the corners. Putting Saladino on ahead of Abreu, it's not a way to win baseball games. Not with 2 outs.
set. And there's ball one. Tyler's 2 for 5 in the stolen base category.
One of the few straight changes that we've seen Rodriguez throw. And he missed with it.
Now the catbird seat goes to Jose. 2 balls, no strikes. Leading off last inning, he just hit a rocket off that center field fence. Picked up his 31st double.
Outside corner is growing.
Man. Oh boy.
There you look at the third pitch on our pitch cast, brought to you by Toyota.
Not even close. Which is all right with me. I'd rather see him swing the bat anyway. If he can get something decent.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're at the point now in the game where all the hitters should know it is a liberal plate, so go up swinging.
Three and one. Kevin on deck. Another long set. And a full count. A lot of times the hitter be facing a guy, a certain pitcher, and he doesn't want to walk. He thinks he can get him. So we'll do it again. This is the second of this 4-game set. They took the opener last night 9-5. Tomorrow's game will be right here on CSN Chicago. And it'll be James Shields against southpaw Drew Pomeranz. And once again the payoff. Then in the finale on Sunday, Mike Pelfrey against Doug Fister, couple big, tall right-handers. And that game will be over WGN. But there is an opportunity for rain tomorrow, they say. And hopefully it won't be hard enough to where we have to play a double bubble on Sunday.
No, that would not be good for either team.
We are halfway home. We lead it 2-0. We are in the bottom of the 5th inning. Good guys on top, 2-0.
There's a very happy Red Sox fan enjoying this game, certainly. If he can stay awake.
First pitch strike to Rafael Devers. Struck out swinging his first trip. And there's a leadoff single.
Well, just in the short time that we've seen him, you can understand why he was a #1 prospect in their organization. He's got a very lively bat.
Just their second hit.
He got a slider that time and stayed right with it. Good plate coverage. This one on the outside part of the plate, and he hits it hard.
Both hits coming off sliders. So here's Xander Bogaerts. Struck out his first trip. Carlos with 5 punch-outs. Leury very short out there in right field. Adam, a couple steps a little deep in center. And Nicky, well, he could even be in a couple of steps more and left.
Last couple of years for Bogaerts, he drove in 81 and 89 runs respectively. Last year 21 home runs, by far his best home run year. So now a meeting at the mound.
Two and 0 the count. Three and 0. Come back and get it. He has yet to walk anybody. There's one. Chris Young on deck. That's trouble. Gets it back in, so runners at the corners and nobody out.
Bogaerts got a high fastball. Carlos fell behind. 2 fastballs in a row, the second of which was a rocket to right. Leary makes a nice play getting it back in, but the speed of Devers, he coasts into third base. This ball hit awfully hard, and Leary gets to it quickly. One hop gets it back in as quickly as you possibly can, but Devers, who stops briefly, then takes off and makes it into third without a problem. See him stop to see if it's going right at Garcia. Realized it wasn't and hustles into third.
A little distraction as Van jumped out on the field. About 4 or 5 minutes and he's going to be sorry he did that.
If he's not sorry already, he certainly will be.
No, he's going to be sorry he did that. Here in New York.
Yeah.
And in our place. No jumping on the field. Bob Casey would say, former PA guy for the Minnesota Twins for years and years.
Chris Young got a first ball fastball. He got it down. He's still in his league, hitting left-handers, especially on low fastballs. He is very good at that.
Forget about the man on third, Carlos. Easier said than done. And that is hit hard. And foul. Yes. Looked for a second like it was going to stay fair.
It hugs the line all the way, and at the last instant, it is foul. Ellis took a little something off that, and that had Young out ahead of it instead of on the sweet spot, fortunately.
Oh, and 2 the count.
Bogarts with good speed, and he's a good base stealer. He's 9 of 10 in stolen bases this year. The Red Sox with 67 stolen bags, been caught only 22 times.
That's off the corner. We did not go, says Mike Estabrook at first, and a full count. Chris, former Sox farmhand. Yanks that one foul.
Breaks his bat, he'll get another. Bogarts was not running on the pitch.
Big pitch right here. Once again, the payoff. Short lead by Bogarts.
Ruben Amaro, the former general manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, now the first base coach of these Red Sox. He's the one talking to Xander Bogarts at first.
There's a base hit, solid hit. That's a 2-1 ball game.
He got a fastball down the middle. He took it through the left side, and that brings Don Cooper out from the dugout. And the fact, unlike last year where they didn't play, well, they didn't play Chris Young a lot, obviously, in the outfield. He's the designated hitter most of the time. Hanley Ramirez didn't play a lot of first base. He was used mostly as a designated hitter. John Farrell likes to put him at first base defensively so that against the left-handers, Chris Young can get his at-bats because he is destructive against lefties. And we just saw it there. So Ramirez playing first opens the door for Chris Young, who drove home the first Red Sox run of the night.
Well, he missed 51 games last year because of the DL. And if you're a right-handed hitter and you have good success against left-handed pitching, you're going to be in the big leagues for a while.
Yep, you are, and he can do that. We've seen it with Danny Valencia, one of those guys that can do that consistently against left-handers.
So here's Vasquez. He got a slider, laced it hard into right field for a single. Takes first pitch strike.
Red Sox don't like to bunt. Just 9 sacrifices all year compared to 25 for our Sox. So Vasquez probably going to be swinging the bat.
Well, they have different offensive club than we have.
Capabilities, yeah, they do.
They're a better offensive team than we are. Up and down. Julie Davis, the owner of 350 home runs in the major leagues, and a lot of them coming in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings. Boy, that's what you look for in a hitter. How can he hit? Because especially in today's culture, which he did not hit in today's culture. We talked about, he and I have talked about that a lot. Just 7th, 8th, and 9th inning today compared to where in years past when we played. 7th, 8th, and 9th inning hitting today is a nightmare compared to ours.
Everybody's coming out of that bullpen with a high 90s fastball.
Well, they're all throwing fire up there.
Yeah. That's a radical departure from years past.
Well, we had to face some good relievers. Red Sox here had one named the monster Dick Raditz, 6'8", about 330 pounds. Threw over 100.
In those days, the problem was there was one of those guys per team.
That's exactly.
That was it.
And some teams didn't even have one. The 1-2. He gone. Yes, one out.
He got him. Good wipeout slider. When that's right, Carlos is getting ahead. They're not going to hit him very much.
So here's Jackie Bradley Jr. Struck out his first trip. Called out.
Bradley, you got to be very careful on the first pitch. Got his fastball, but it was a good pitch under his hands, and he couldn't do anything with it.
At 95. Pretty good pitch. Didn't get it. I don't know if any outfielder in this league throws as well as Jackie Bradley Jr.
He certainly is about as good as any, especially the center fielders.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you know, you might time, but I don't think anybody's going to be better than he is. Nice, nice. Everybody's safe though. Good effort right there by Tim. Just couldn't quite make the transfer in time. That'll be a hit and load them up.
Tim thought he could get the force out at second. Yuan, however, was not close enough to the bag, so Moncada with quick reaction, thinking, okay, I can't get the out. Maybe I can get him at first. Bradley runs too well, and so that's going to load him up on the 4th single of the inning.
For Mookie Betts.
Betts has grounded into 8 double plays this year. Got 4 different Red Sox players in double figures in that department. But Betts has excellent speed.
He is grounded to second and hit into a 6-4 fielder's choice. Sachs back with Carmines. Outfield straight up, spread out, spaced about equidistant. Maybe a small gap out there in right center. Two, 3-0 for us, 1-5 and 1 for them here in the bottom of the 5th inning.
Mookie Betts has turned into their #1 run producer, and that's from the top of the lineup.
Well, he's got the catbird seat right now. Bases loaded, 2-0. Boy, I tell you what, that's wheelhouse for him right there. He took it.
Well, it was 84, so he threw a straight change, which is unusual for Carlos. And
he got it up a little bit,
yeah,
just good enough, and
I think he surprised him with the velocity.
Well, yeah, had to. And the count 2-2.
He reached back, got 97, and did everything but get it by him. He was able to foul it off, but it did even the count.
Yeah, that's one of those change-ups on a 2-0 count. Right height, right there. He just couldn't pull the trigger. Out and around it.
Brian Butterfield, the third base coach, is halfway to the plate and way out of the box. That's, you know, Mookie's a dead pull hitter when the third base coach lines up there.
They're going to come to the plate, and they get him. Good job by Kevin, keeping that foot on the plate, and that's out number 2. And a good job, good selection right there by Abreu.
Well, he realized there was no way in the world he was going to get 2,
right,
and he might as well come home and cut down the tying run, which he did. It's a backdoor slider. Jose, knowing the speed of Betts, knowing you can't get 2, but there is a play at the plate, and a good job on both ends.
Well, that's the play right there that a lot of first basemen are going to try to get 2 on that like one hopper, and they're not going to do it. It's not going to happen. Plus, you got a left-handed hitter coming up. I tell you, he's got a nice presence. This young man, just 23 years old.
Well, I know the White Sox really liked him coming out of University of Arkansas. He can do a lot of things, and he does a lot of things very well.
They got to throw a lasso on him with the baseball.
Well, yeah, that's one of the things that he might need a little work on, but the rest of the game is really solid, and he can run.
That was... The 0-1. Yeah, there's only so many. Come on, you can do it.
Well, he's thrown that last fastball was the fastest fastball he's thrown tonight, as he is reaching back trying to get everything that he can. This is just his 80th pitch coming up, trying to wend his way out of this with the lead.
Yes, he go. Pitches out of a big jam. If they do come up with one, we'll go to the sixth, leading 2-1.
New England Revolution coverage begins tomorrow at 7 on CSN Plus with Chicago Fire pregame live.
Oh, Carlos. How nice is it to have that kind of stuff?
Good concentration, pitched his way out of a very tough jam.
He's not afraid.
Ooh,
Carlos is not afraid of the bat.
Four singles, 1 run.
I think I mentioned to you, but when we first got him, I met one of the guys who caught him in college. Now, he wasn't his primary catcher, but he was his backup. And my son Casey introduced me to him. They had met. And I said, tell me about Carlos Rodon. And he looked at me, he said, Mr. Harrelson. He put his hands like this. He said, he got stones that big. Which is what you want to hear.
Yeah, good for the patio, too.
Here's Kevin. Oh, good rip.
Well, seeing Carlos healthy is a gratifying thing for everybody, certainly in the front office, that dugout, and everyone associated with White Sox baseball, because Carlos is going to be the leader of the pack in the future.
Yeah.
He's got #1 starter stuff, and he's going to be able to show it on a nightly basis.
Two and two the count.
That's 100 pitches for Eduardo Rodriguez.
And for 24 years old, he is a good-looking young left-hander as well.
There's no doubt. Anytime you can get Andrew Miller in a trade one-on-one, a lot of promise in that young man's arm and body.
Yeah, he's not afraid of the bat. He's got a nice presence out there. It's one of the things in baseball that's not talked about enough. Presence at the plate and presence on that mound. A lot of times you see young players. For an example, our guy at the plate right now, Kevin, you can see his presence is growing. He's feeling better and better and better about himself up there.
Been a terrific year for him. And he came in hitting close to 280, which for a guy not playing every day, but playing a whole lot of them, is very impressive. And he's caught enough pitches with Marvin Hudson behind the plate tonight to know that he doesn't want to leave it in Marvin's hands. So he went out twice on pitches just off the outside corner, protecting and keeping the bat alive.
Got in on him with that one, popped it up in the left field. Andrew Benintendi. And a reminder, you can join our Sox in honoring Chicago area police and fire departments on Thursday, August 10th for Police and Fire Night. The first 10,000 fans receive a special Police and Fire Night commemorative T-shirt presented by UL. So for more than a century, UL has been committed to fire safety. Learn more at ul.com/fire. To get those tickets, visit whitesox.com/PDFD or call 866-SOX-GAME. Uri going out to right, walked and scored.
At the 106 pitch mark, Austin Maddox loosening in the pen.
Two, 3-0 for us, 1-5-1 for them. We're in the top of the sixth with one out and a 2-2 count. Boy, it looks like there's a Fanny in every seat.
Just about every night.
Yeah. Ball hit sharply. 2 down.
Red Sox are going to be getting back a couple of relievers pretty soon. Joe Kelly, who's having a magnificent year, he'll be back in the not too distant future, maybe as soon as the end of this series, certainly the beginning of the next. He's got a 1.49 ERA. And they're getting Carson Smith back also. So 2 relievers to an already very good bullpen.
Pulled a string on it.
Pitch number 112 on the way. One of the few straight changes Rodriguez has thrown. When he has thrown, they've been effective.
Close pitch. A little low. The ball hit hard. This is going to be a base hit. So Yon, good speed aboard. And that's his first right-handed hit.
He gets a 2-1 fastball and drills it. Nice hittable spot. And the inning will continue.
Here is Nicky. Delmonico, 2-run double in the fourth. In a real solid at bat. Jackie Bradley Jr. deep in center field, as he should be. Mookie Betts straight up, normal and right. Benintendi right where he should be in left. Very quickly to count 0-2. A big 3-run homer last night. Got us in range. It made it a 7-5 ball game. Got him. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th, leading 2-1.
Home runs, 14 driven in with 7 doubles. The slugging percentage, outstanding. That's all accomplished in 19 games. So the White Sox minor league July co-player of the month, tied with Jake Peter, and that is a very healthy month, accomplished in a couple of weeks.
Eduardo Nunez. He is lined hard to center, and we got ourselves a 2-2 tie. He always hurts us.
There were a whole lot of teams in the market for Nunez. At the end of the day, those two pitching prospects, even though they were well down in low minor leagues, they brought Nunez back. Our Ford home run replay, it looks like a low slider, and Nunez took it out. His third home run as a member of these Red Sox. He's driven in 11, and that ties it at 2.
So here's Ramirez. He's looking to put him on top, 3-2. Hanley has gone out to right and struck out, swinging. How to play right side. That's foul straight, right?
There is Addison Reed loosening up, getting ready. We saw him in last night's game. He came on, pitched a perfect inning in relief.
Well, the thing that impressed both of us, I think, was how he did it.
Yeah, velocity was up.
He gone. 8 strikeouts now for Carlos.
8 strikeouts, no walks, and a good slider ends the at bat. Had Hanley well out in front. Lost his helmet, the bat, and the at bat.
Here's Rafael Devers. Right to Anderson. I tell you, besides hitting and fielding, he can run a little bit.
He can do that.
And a reminder that Elvis Night is Friday, August 25th at Guaranteed Rate Field. So join us in remembering the king of rock and roll as the Sox take on Detroit Tigers at 7:10. Be sure to stay for a post-game fireworks show. Visit WhiteSox.com to get your tickets today. And there's one guy. I saw him in Vegas a few times. There's one guy I would really have loved to have met. I met some people who knew him very well, and I'll tell you, they just loved him.
Interesting life he led. Too brief, but interesting.
People I met that were pretty close to him, really. They just said he was absolutely a very special person, the nicest guy you ever want to meet. Very generous. Never had the opportunity to meet him. There's a strike. Right side. Yuan's got him. And that'll retire the side, but the home run, the leadoff home run by Orioles Nunez, we're tied at 2.
begins at 5:30 with White Sox pregame live, or stream the game on the NBC Sports app or at csnchicago.com. And that is the way it's going to match up. James Shields against Drew Pomeranz. Pomeranz having a terrific year at 10-4. His ERA 3.46. James, ERA is up there. And Addison Reed comes in the ball game for the second time in as many nights, on for the 51st time between the Mets and the Red Sox. He was a closer with the Mets, 19 of 21 in saves and a fine ERA.
Adam Engel will lead it off. Adam is lined very hard to center, and he also was called out on a bad pitch. There's a slider. Looked like that's the thing that we noticed a little bit last night, and then on that pitch right there, his slider that's a late breaking slider.
Yeah, he's got a little bit different motion than he had with us, and he's quick pitching.
Got a lot of different motion.
Yeah, that was a quick pitch, and he got him. Good hard breaking slider for the third time. Engel retired.
Well, that's why Coop has been so great for this organization. The two guys, as I've said before, two most impactful people since I've been with the White Sox since 1982. Long time. They've been Herm Schneider and Don Cooper.
Hermie and his staff have been absolutely wonderful.
The best in the big leagues, and numbers prove it.
Yeah, and keeping players on the field. Alan Thomas is great with strength, preventative measures, and Brian Ball and Herm Schneider and everybody in that training room have done just a great job. This has been a tough year. There's been a lot of injuries this year, but over the years, nobody keeps them on the field better than Hermie and his staff.
No, they don't.
As far as Don Cooper, he's got the most quality starts over the last 10 years of anybody in baseball.
Well, he and Kenny hit it off so well. And Kenny was very instrumental, and as he gets him, so 2 strikeouts, 2 outs. And when he recognized that he had the best, so he's been here all this time.
Well, taking a look at Addison Reed and how he has thrown the baseball over the last 2 nights, you're seeing a guy who might not have as great a stuff as he once had, but he's doing a lot of compensating for it by giving hitters a different look and adding to his deception. So where he became very much infatuated for a time with his slider and it hurt his fastball, those days are gone. He still has a good slider, but the fastball is even better than it once was.
You don't have to look at him, just look at our hitters and the reaction.
Absolutely, it's buckling their knees on a lot of them.
When I'm watching a baseball game at home on television, I don't watch the ball, I watch our hitters. They'll tell you what kind of stuff he's got. Another guy that just works so hard each and every day with our guys is Brett Walker, physical therapist. Good people. There's a shot. That a boy. So good speed aboard. He's now 1 for 4. And he's hit the ball hard 3 times.
This is going to be one of the few opportunities to steal a base, and this time he gets a low fastball. Another quick pitch from Reed, only this one the fastball instead of the slider, and Tim takes it right back up the middle. So good opportunity if you're looking to try to steal a base, although Vasquez throws it pretty well, and he's on the money more times than not.
Here's Tyler. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. Good job by Eduardo Rodriguez.
This is one of his better outings, and he was on the shelf for about a month with that knee problem. His knee, this is the third time it's happened in a Red Sox uniform, his knee dislocates itself. And when that happens, it's very difficult, very painful, and it takes a while to get it back. They're concerned he's going to have surgery on it for stability.
I played with a guy like that. On McCullum, was it? Anyway, he wasn't a pitcher. He was a shortstop, and his knee dislocated itself.
Yeah, and
it's not uncommon.
No, it's well, obviously the ligaments aren't strong enough to hold it in, but they're trying to avoid surgery if they can. So far, Rodriguez doesn't think it's necessary, and we'll have to see.
There he goes. There you go. You're right. Right on the money.
That was a good one.
7th inning stretch, still tied at 2.
What a remarkable pitcher he was. Probably you're seeing, well, you're seeing a dinosaur in that you probably won't see 300 wins again. I would say it'd be really difficult for somebody to hang around and be that good for that long in baseball in this era.
There have already been a couple of 300 winners that I didn't think would get there, but just because of that reason. But they got there. And right here is the home half of the 7th inning, and a 2-2 tie. Young, Vasquez, and Bradley is there, strike one. Chris is 1 for 2 with an RBI single, a bullet in the hole between third and short.
He's had 2 very good at bats. He's seen it well against Carlos.
Yeah, I remember that game vividly. In fact, I called his 300th win. Drysdale, I wanted him to call it, but they wanted Don to go down on the field and interview him after the thing was over. I think Don was a little disappointed as well. People to this day, except for the New Yorkers, a lot of people don't realize how great Tom Seaver was.
Well, if you don't realize how great he was, that means you never saw him, because and I saw him,
exactly
I hit against him, and he was something. Boy, did he have magnificent stuff, and he threw everything around the plate, and he made adjustments. That's the greatest thing he could do. Yeah, and pinpoint control in the high 90s with his fastball, and everything was down. And then he made great adjustments to the aging process.
Well, in that '68 All-Star game, I'll guarantee you they didn't have the guns like they do here around with the public. I'll guarantee you he hit 100 a couple of times. as he gone. 9 strikeouts.
There's a slider. And as it came across, it caught a part of the plate.
Yeah, but you did something the Seaver did do in the All-Star game. You went 3 innings and didn't give up a hit. Tom went 3 innings against us and only gave up 1 hit, but it was to Tony Oliva.
I don't think we're going to see that again because I don't think
nobody's going to go 3
anymore. No.
In fact, Tony came over to me. He had blown Boo Powell away. I mean, Boo came back to the dugout, looked at me, and he said, "Hawk, I hadn't seen that before." So Oliva comes over to me and he says, "Oh, can I use your bat?" I said, "Tony, that's 35 ounces." He goes, "I know it." That's high pop up. And that's out number 2. So Seaver, Tony goes up there. Seaver throws him about 100-mile-an-hour fastball, letter high, and he hit a rocket off the wall out there and left center field for a double.
I would have loved it. Obviously, we will never know this, but I would love to have seen what would have happened had Tony's knees not given way and he had some kind of healthy legs, because there weren't too many people that were better hitters than Tony Oliva.
No, sir. No, sir.
And his legs really dissolved later on.
Yeah, they did. And a great guy. He was just a fabulous hitter. Bradley had an infield single and a strikeout. And the count 0-2.
What a night it's been for Carlos Rodon.
He's getting ready to pick up number 10.
There it is.
There it is. A 1-2-3 inning, and we're into the 8th. Tied at 2.
eClickLending.com. eClick is located in Chicagoland, is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. eClick Lending. Boom! Your mortgage just happened. A new pitcher in the ball game. It's hard-throwing Matt Barnes, who we also saw last night. 51 appearances, 6-3, which is very good. ERA at 3.46. 59 strikeouts in 52 innings.
Well, looks like Farrell's got himself a nice at least 7th, 8th, and 9th inning coverage.
And when Joe Kelly comes back, he's one of those guys.
And he'll have the 6th.
He throws in the high 90s and nobody scores off him. So their bullpen is going to get awfully deep in the not too distant future. It's good enough now. It's going to get better. And John Farrell's got himself a good solid ball club. And with the Yankees trailing 6-1 in the bottom of the 7th in Cleveland, Red Sox know if they can pull one out here, they can gain another game on the Yankees.
Alan Hansen will hit far. Saladino. Tyler was 0 for 2 with a walk. Yeah. Cleveland can definitely cover. The 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. Yankees can cover it. And now it looks like the Red Sox can cover it.
Yeah, Red Sox will have, as they term it, an embarrassment of riches in that bullpen. And the question is now, with the 25-man roster, before the roster is expanded in September, who's going to sit down when those two come back?
Well, with the youth that they have on this ball club right now, that shouldn't be a real problem as far as roster spots go for the 25-man active, because of the fact these guys have stamina, youth going for them. And the weather is not real bad here in Boston year round. It's not like you're down in Arlington.
Field to Jerry Lane. He said he did go, and
he did go.
It looks like he did, and he's out.
Sox fans host a pregame patio party this season, and with purchase you receive a game ticket and can enjoy an all-you-can-eat buffet and all-inclusive wine, beer, and Coke products. Patio opens 90 minutes prior to the game and closes 30 minutes after the start of the game. So to get your tickets, visit whitesox.com/group. Here's Jose. He's 1 for 3, but he started off that 2-run fourth with a bullet double off the center field fence. His 31st double.
Jose has seen Barnes 4 times. He's got a hit. It was a double.
Just tuning in, we scored 2 in the 4th. They scored 1 in the 5th and 1 in the 6th. Two one. 3-1.
Well, if he'll just be kind enough to throw a fastball middle in, Jose can lose one here.
He did not go.
Threw the slider, stayed away from the fastball, but it cost him a base on balls.
Well, better that than a 3-2 White Sox lead.
He's probably thinking the same thing.
Yeah, he was. Kevin hit the ball hard twice. He's 0 for 3. Ball's outside, called a strike. If you're just tuning in, that has been the MO of Marvin Hudson all night. Uh-oh.
Devers threw it wide of the bag, and some solid play from Nunez at second base. He realized with the throw not on the money, you're not going to be able to get to. So he gets out of the way of Jose sliding in, trying to take him out.
Well, that's the result. Our guys have been doing a much better job than we've done in the past few years. Getting a good lead and trying to beat the play in the second base. They have been doing a much better job. Darryl, Boston. You got to stay on top of them. I mean, it sounds juvenile, but it's the truth. You got to stay on top of them, remind them all the time. You just can't take it for granted if they're going to get that good lead and get that good jump trying to beat that play in the second.
At that time, Jose hustling down there made sure that Nunez could not get a throw off.
Well, it saved a double play.
Kept the inning alive, and you never know. With Leury turning around to hit from the left side for the first time.
Boy, for you youngsters out there, base running is some of the least talked about things in the game. And I wish you could have seen our '83 White Sox team. That was the best I've ever seen at beating plays into second base to extend the innings. They were absolutely terrific.
Looked like on the play that Vasquez was getting ready to throw the ball to first base behind Kevin Smith.
Man, 83.
Seems like just yesterday.
34 years. Started off 14 and 26 that year and wound up winning 99 games, winning the division by 20.
And then running into Tito Landrum.
Don't bring that up. That's one of the best games you ever want to see. Britt Burns pitched his you-know-what off.
And Landrum was a lend-lease from St. Louis to Baltimore, and they shipped him back to St. Louis after the series.
All right, we'll go to the bottom of the eighth, still tied at 2. inning and a 2-2 tie. 2-5-0 for our good guys. 2-6-1 for their bad guys.
Carlos Rodon still in the ball game. He'll deal with the top of the order. 4th time through the lineup. Betts, Benintendi, and Nunez, whose home run tied it at 2.
First pitch off the plate, called a strike. Outfield for the most part straight up. Gap out there in right center.
Key to the inning is right here with the speed of Betts and his base running ability. You keep him off base, they'll be in much better shape this inning.
Two and one. Betts just 24 years old. And the count 2-2. He gone. 11 strikeouts now for Carlos.
Few
He
pitches,
wasn't looking for that one.
no, a few pitches were outside, and then he buzzes him on the inside corner. It has the plate, and Betts a strikeout victim for the first time tonight.
So here's Benintendi. Takes ball 1. He lined out very hard to Carlos. Made a super snap of it. And he went out to center. Then he struck out. Check swing on a slider.
Jake Petrichka getting loosened up in the pen. Carlos ready to deliver pitch number 111.
Three and one.
That last pitch is a pitch that Benintendi's been swinging at all night, but this time he took it and it was inside off the plate.
Oh, nice. Yawn. Beautiful play.
Well, good effort to his left as Moncada keeps getting better and better defensively. And here comes Greg.
Well, that play right, that ball was scalded.
It was.
And you just can't get any quicker first step than we saw from Moncada right there.
Pretty solid player, makes a good throw across it.
What an effort. What an effort by Carlos Rodon.
So Jake Petrichka comes in the ball game. Carlos walks out. So will we. We'll be back. Brought to you by Miller Lite. Here's our Miller Moments, and it's the night of Carlos Rodon, and it was brilliant tonight. He goes 7 2/3, gives up a couple of runs on just 6 hits. The key here, no walks. 0 walks and 11 strikeouts. And he got him on the slider. He got him on the high fastball. He was just in control from start to finish. A brilliant performance. And he'll leave with a no decision, but he'll leave with a whale of a ball game under his belt.
So here's Nunez. He's 1 for 3. Home run to tie the game at 2. Well, there's not a young left-hander in the American League with better stuff than Carlos Rodon.
No, he is a top of the rotation, a #1 stuff guy, and we're going to see it more and more frequently now that his arm is back, as healthy as it can be, and he is ready to go. 2 great outings back-to-back. Our Hyundai call to the pen is Jake Petrichka, who comes into this with 2 outs here in the 8th inning, on for the 14th time, and there you look at the numbers.
2-0 the count. Nunez 3 for 8 in the series. And I'd say he was trying to hit that one pretty hard.
He got the 2-0 fastball. He just didn't like it in that spot. It was high under his hands and couldn't catch up to it.
There's another hit. This guy just wears us out. Everywhere he has been, wears us out.
He keeps the inning alive, taking this right back up the middle. Now you got to keep a close eye out on him. He's a terrific base stealer. He's 3 for 3 in a Red Sox uniform, but 18 and 5 overall. Interested spectator with 2 terrific performances back-to-back.
Had a pretty good lead.
He stole a base last night, had a couple of hits, drove in a run, scored one. A busy night for Nunez last night.
Hanley is glad to see Rodon gone. 0 for 3 with a couple of punch outs.
And one lazy fly ball hit to right field. That was the sum total of the offensive performance by Hanley Ramirez this evening. Some pitchers you just don't pick up.
Carlos is one of those guys. I know one thing. He would have had no problems with a Hawkeroo. Unless he was missing with that slider, which he wasn't tonight.
No, not at all. 0 walks, 11 strikeouts. You just don't see that very often from young, hard throwers.
Well, the highest I saw him hit tonight was 98. One time. 97 a lot.
Yeah.
Two out, 1-1 to count. One and 2 the count. You didn't see it because we went to the break, but as Carlos walked off, Red Sox fans gave him a real nice round of applause.
Well, they know their baseball here very well, and they appreciate a sterling performance, and that was one of those.
Yep.
Actually, both guys Rodriguez threw it very well for the Red Sox, and Carlos threw it exceptionally well for our Sox.
He gone. And we're into the ninth, tied at 2. Game Plus Live and get a free subscription to At Bat Premium. Now the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply, so visit MLB.tv for details.
A new pitcher in the ball game, and it is their closer, Craig Kimbrell. He's 3-0 this year. His ERA at 1.61, 25 for 29 in save opportunities. Lately, he's given it up a couple of times, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of stuff he comes at the boys with tonight.
Well, he's going to have good stuff. Now, whether he gets it where he wants it or not is another story. So here is Moncada. Takes ball 1.
That was only 99.
Moncada 1 for 3. Hit the ball hard twice. The outside edge of the corner. That one at 98. That one at 100. That one at 89. Breaking ball. 2-2. 2-5-0 for us. 2-7-1 for them here in the top of the 9th inning. Big gap out there in left center. Ball hit sharply into right field for the base hit.
Real good speed aboard, representing the go-ahead run. That's 2 hits for Yuan, 1 from each side as he takes it by Nunez into right field.
So here's Nicky. He has both RBIs. He had a 2-run double with 2 out back in the 4th inning. Line drive off the green monster. There's a shot, base hit. That one on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He just turned it around very easily. So the first 2 men aboard.
Well, against the Indians in his timeout against the Tribe, he had a 1-run lead late. 2 sliders for strike 1, strike 2, and threw a fastball to Lindor, who hit it out of the park to tie it up. And he's starting out with a couple of rockets to right field in this game.
Well, there's no question that offensively, Nicky Delmonico is starting to put himself into the mix.
It was a pretty big fastball that he turned down and hit a rocket to right field.
Just 100 miles an hour. As I said, in case you missed last night, he's a big man. He's not a medium. He's 6'3", 220.
Now the infield in, looking for a bunt.
Hanley going to take the bat and the bunt right out of his hands. Now Devers has got to hold his ground a little bit at third. Now they get a play on. And this is where Moncada has really got to be on his toes. Toughest base running play in baseball is this. Man on first and second, bunt situation. You cannot get picked off.
Bogaerts is throwing dirt at Yuan at second base.
That'll get the job done. Boy, that is a beautiful, beautiful play, and they just do get him at first. So a beautiful bunt by Adam Engel. Yes. I love the bunt.
Boy, that was a great bunt. Devers thought about second base briefly and got it across, I mean, just in the nick of time as Engel was busting it down the line. And he got beat by an eyelash at first. Carl Willis coming out now. He wants a word with Kimbrel. Well executed sacrifice bunt by Adam Engel.
It's been a while since we saw one of those.
That was a dandy. That was the 4th sacrifice bunt from Engel this year. So he was called on to do it, and he did it perfectly.
I got a feeling you're going to see a lot more of our guys in situations like that do it perfectly down going forward.
They've been working on it. We see them before the game back in Chicago, and they're working on the bunts. They're working on bunting to both sides. They come out early. It was a trouble spot. It's getting a whole lot better.
So here's Yolmer. Yolmer had our first hit in the 3rd inning, a double. He's 1 for 3. Corners in close, infield in. That one at 99, and it's ball 1.
Tim Anderson in the on deck circle. First base open. It'll be interesting to see if he goes right at Sanchez or throws him just off the plate.
Well, that one at 100.
At great speed at third base in Moncada.
That one at 100.
Kimbrel has 5 wild pitches this year.
Well, he's not going to take a chance on one right here. There's going to be nothing low.
You're not thinking of sliders forthcoming?
No. Nope. And that one at 99. If there is one coming, it would be on this pitch, and it might be just to get me over. But I doubt it. And that one at 100.
Everything upstairs, everything at or near 100. And Yolmer Tardy.
It takes the wild pitch out of the equation.
It does that.
And here is Anderson. He is 1 for 4. And he's hit the ball hard twice tonight. That one at 100. Good rip on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. That was upstairs. That one at 100. This is when you, the longer the bat, the longer the swing. This is when you got to choke up, make it the shorter the bat, the shorter the swing. You're right. It ain't gonna happen.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, it's not gonna happen.
It might get a hit, but it's not gonna be with a short bat.
All right, we'll go to the bottom of the ninth. Tied at 2. The day after the Sox win, you get 50% off your entire online order of regular menu priced items. Only at PapaJohns.com. Now, when you use the promo code SOXWIN, that is valid at participating Papa John's locations. So better ingredients, better pizza. That's Papa John's.
We got a new pitcher coming into the ball game, and it is Tyler Clippard. On for the 48th time combined between the Yankees and our Sox. 2-6, 475. And he's trying to hold him right there.
Bufffield Devers. Devers is 1 for 3. Started off the 5th inning with a single, came around to score on the base hit by Chris Young. There's first pitch strike. Outfield, straight up, spread out, and fairly deep. $36,612.
Another sellout.
Yep. Here you go. One out.
Threw a high fastball by him. That's where Kevin wanted it. That's where Tyler threw it.
Right underneath the hands. That's where you got to go, especially with a left-handed hitter as strong like Devers. As here is Bogarts, who's 1 for 3. Xander, a single, contributing to that run back in the 5th inning. Takes first pitch strike. Oh, 0-2 the count. Brock Holt on deck for Chris Young. There you go. 2 down.
14 Red Sox strikeout victims tonight. Way out of the zone.
So here's Holt. Chris Young was 1 for 3, as I mentioned, with that RBI, getting the Red Sox on the board back in the 5th. All night long. Off the plate, called a strike.
What, both pitches same spot. One a ball, one a strike, as Holt is 1 for 1 as a pinch hitter this year.
This little guy is a good player. Rockhold.
Well, he is their emergency catcher as well as their all-purpose player.
Yeah.
So there's not one position that he can't play.
He'll compete with you. 2 balls and the strike. Three balls and the strike. Christian Vasquez on deck. Jose's got him, and we are into extra innings. Tied at 2.
For the Sunday finale, and then it's a day off on Monday, assuming the weatherman cooperates. Then the Astros coming to town, followed by Kansas City. Our White Sox upcoming schedule. We've got a new pitcher coming in the ball game. It is Brandon Workman, who we saw last night, on for the 13th time. He's just back off the disabled list. His ERA below 2. And pretty good stuff. 3 walks, 17 strikeouts in 18 1/3 innings.
Well, this is the 8th extra inning game for us. First 7, we are 3 and 4. We have played 6 on the road, and we have split them. They have played a lot. This is their 13th extra inning game.
Mitch Moreland comes in the game at first base.
They are 9 and 3, and they have played 6 here at Fenway, and they've won 5 of them. So here's Hansen. Allen's been on the plate 1 time. Struck out. Takes first pitch strike. Abreu on deck and Kevin Smith in the hole. Oh, and 2 the count. Pretty good rip right there. Count hangs at no balls, 2 strikes.
Workman came out of the Red Sox organization, 2nd round draft pick in 2010.
11 strikeouts for Boston pitching. And of course, we have our guys that struck out 14 Red Sox.
In a night of very little contact.
Jose is 1 for 3 with a walk, also a double, leading off the 4th inning, and he scored. That double was a bullet off the center field fence.
New York Yankees have gone down to defeat. Indians beating them 7-2 in Cleveland.
Ball hit sharply. 2 down. So here comes Kevin. Kevin 0 for 4. He's lined hard to right. Set the ball well twice. Guessing strike and didn't get it. So their guys in the bottom of the 10th would be Vasquez, Bradley, then back to the top of the order with Mookie Betts, the scheduled hitters.
Last pitch, a 90-mile-an-hour slider.
Yeah, he's got good stuff. It's easy to see why he was taking the second round.
Yeah. Recovering from Tommy John surgery, and it looks like he has come back every bit as strong as he was before the surgery.
Runs are even at 2. Hits are even at 7. We have made no errors. They have made 1. That was a semi-bad hop on Bogarts.
That was interesting. He hit it on the hop. We'll take another look. One hop. Foul ball. Cricket, anyone?
Rich Dower was the best I ever saw
At hitting
going to bat at the ball.
He did that a lot.
Oh yeah, former second baseman for Baltimore. Saw him do it in this park here one night twice, and once he got a base hit in the right field.
He was a hard man to strike out in his time.
Two out and a 1-2. Get through. It will. Yes, that boy, Cap. So J.J. Shearer, J.J. and Jessica Shearer. David Novak's pick to click.
Kevin keeps it alive. Takes it right by a diving Xander Bogaerts. Can't catch up to it. There is the go-ahead run.
So here is Leury. He's going out to right. He's walked. And he scored. He grounded to second and struck out. So he's 0 for 3. That's fair ball, and that'll retire the side. So we'll go to the bottom of the 10th. 2-2.
Tyler Clippard is still out there for the moment. Red Sox fans enjoying this one as we go to the bottom of the 10th inning. A very well pitched ball game on both sides.
Yeah, there has been some line drives hit, but right at people. Except for that little semi-bad hop to Bogarts, a well-defended game. So here is Christian Vazquez. He's 1 for 3. The line shot single to right field back in the 3rd inning. Pretty good breaking ball, and it was a strike, and he didn't get it. One thing you got to say about Marvin Hudson tonight, though, he's been pretty consistent.
He's had a wide plate on the outside part of the plate, and he stayed there from the beginning till now.
On both hitters, right and left-handed hitters. Two and 1 to count. 26-year-old receiver now on a 7-game hitting streak. High in the right field, that's kind of corner. Jackie Bradley Jr. He's 1 for 3. Had an infield single and a couple of strikeouts.
Goldberg and Bummer ready if need be.
Jackie trying to end it. He has 10 home runs, driven in 41. You know, Stoney, it's the way the game is going today and has been for the last few years now, and it's the way it's going to be the way of the future. Might behoove the owners to consider a 26-man active roster.
With one more Pensman, most likely,
Sure,
the guy to
exactly.
be 26.
That's what it would be. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
To save, and to save, really possibly to save some DLs for the pitchers. Sure, it's more expensive, but in the long run, it might save them some money and some injuries. Just got a piece of it. Once again, the 1-2. Mookie Betts on deck. Outfielder deep as they should be. Tomorrow's game right here on CSN Chicago. We have James Shields against the southpaw Drew Pomeranz. Chopper hit softly. 2 down. And here comes Mookie.
Second inning last night. Mookie with a 2-run bomb. This was blasted.
Mookie's 0 for 4 tonight. A grounder to second. Hit into a 6-4 fielder's choice. Another grounder to first and a strikeout.
But yeah, to this point, he hasn't had the ball out of the infield. And a heads-up play by Jose in the 5th inning with the bases loaded, knowing he couldn't get 2. He came home for the force out. Kept that inning to just 1 run. Andrew Benintendi.
And a good play by Kevin Smith to keep his foot on the plate. Throw was a little bit wide to the first base side of home. 3-0, and he is hacking. Taken all the way. Shocked at that.
I think John Farrell probably figures 17 stolen bases. He's his 2nd best base stealer on this team.
And is also his club leader in home runs. He just missed it. And that'll retire the side. We're into the 11th, still tied at 2.
Sixth pitcher of the night. It's Heath Hembree. On for the 49th time. There's a whole lot of people in the high 40s and low 50s for these Red Sox, as John Farrell likes to go to that pen, and he's got a good pen to go to. Alex Hembree last night. Pitched a third of an inning. Struck out the only man he faced.
Moncada, Yohan, will lead it off. He's 2 for 4 tonight. Got his first right-handed base hit back in the 6th inning, a single to the left. Then leading off the 9th against Kimbrel, hit a 99-mile-an-hour fastball hard to right for a base hit. At the bottom of the zone to even the count at 1. Good rip. Pretty easy to see. This guy's got a chance to be something very special.
Well, there's no doubt that the sky
special.
is the limit as far as his ability is concerned.
Yeah, he's got a chance to be something really special. 2-2. They got the shift on for him. Devers, third baseman, back on the grass on the first base side of second. Full count.
Delmonico having a good night, and he's up next.
He's driven in both our runs with that double. And there is another good at bat for this youngster.
And this is the reason we're still here. 4th inning. Nicky comes up, takes it off the wall. Then intended can't get to it. Gets trapped too close to the wall, and 2-run score.
And then in the 9th, dripped a 100-mile-an-hour fastball from Craig Kimbrel hard into right field for a base hit.
So Nicky, with a couple of hits in each game, 4 for 8 for the series.
5 RBIs. They've only scored 7 runs. He's knocked in 5 of them.
He had a good Boston. Very good Boston.
Eddie Casson, our director of travel for the Sox. Best I've ever seen at that in all the years I've been in this game. He told me about Delmonico. I said, Eddie, and Eddie's a very good judge of talent as well. I said, hey, who's one of the guys that impressed you probably most in spring training? He said, no question. He said, Nicky Delmonico. There's a base hit. So the first 2 men aboard.
It's 3 hits tonight for Nicky as he takes one up the middle. Hembree gets careless with a fastball, and Nicky takes it right back up the middle for his 3rd hit. And now the Red Sox meeting at the mound against what they believe to be another bunt from Adam Engel. And he's being called back to the dugout to talk with Rick Renteria as they're meeting in front with Ever Magianis. So they've explained to Adam Engel what they want. They're probably going something like this. If they're coming in and charging you at the corners, don't be afraid to pull the bat back and take a little half swing at one.
Forget that. Forget what you just said.
You don't think that's going to happen?
There's Ever Magallanes. Filling in for Nick Capra. Covering nicely from the back. So the corners. Here comes Moreland. And the count 0-1.
That's what you'd prefer. Early in the count in a bunt situation, you want high fastballs. Maybe you get your hitter to pop it up.
It's the hardest pitch to bunt.
It is. And Adam did a nice job of laying one down in the 9th.
Beautiful bunt. And here's another one. Safe! Safe! Yes!
Boy,
that speed of Moncada.
Yeah, that's opening it up for a big inning. Now they want to take another look at it, I'm sure, in the Red Sox dugout, but he appeared in real time that he was safe at third. Another pretty good bunt. Hembree gets off the mound quickly, bare hands, throws in the same motion, and
he's not on the
he
bag.
wasn't on the bag. I mean, the throw beat him. Throw beats him. But it looks like the foot came off the bag, and we'll see. They're going to appeal it. We'll see if he was able to drag the foot across the top of the bag. It's a fine play by Hembree one way or the other. Well, it appears that his foot was dragging across the bag, and he had the ball in the glove, and so we'll see it again. Looks to be out. We'll see what they say. And
yeah, they called him out.
Great play by Hembree.
Dadgummit.
The only play he had, if he was going to cut down the lead runner, was the bare hand throw in the same motion. He was able to do it.
And a terrific play by Devers. In real time, it sure looked like he beat it. But there again.
There's the replay.
There's the replay. And here is Yolmer. Yolmer, 1 for 4, a double.
One took the mask right off Vasquez. Bare hand, 360 spin, and the ball beats him. It looked in real time like the foot was off the bag, but it wasn't. He drags it across the top.
Yep. The 0-1. Well, we had 2 on, nobody out. Now we got 1 on, 2 out.
We saw earlier that Vasquez can really throw it, and he's very accurate with it. He's thinking about going to second base on the play all the way. And Dan Bellino rings him up. Looks like he blocked off the bag with his knee.
He did.
And you can do that, and it's a terrific play.
Couldn't get there.
He never got back to the bag.
Bobby Grich. Bobby Grich, and the way you combat that is the next time that happens, you go in spikes first. Bobby Grich, former Baltimore, and an angel second baseman for you youngsters out there. He was a terrific second baseman and a tough guy. Best I ever saw it there. He would not let you get to the bag.
Well, if you went in head first, it was a mistake because
that's what I'm saying. You had to go in feet first.
And he was one of those guys that would seemingly measure exactly where he could put that knee, and it was usually in the side of your neck if you came in head first.
Two out now, 2 strikes. If you're just tuning in, getting home, we had 2 on, nobody out in the top of the 9th inning. We had men on second and third, 1 out after the bunt by Angle, then the strikeout, and another strikeout. Count is now even at 2. Decent lead. Long set. That was a heck of a play by him, and a heck of a play by Devers to keep his foot, reach back and make the catch and keep his foot on the bag.
Yeah, unfortunately, the bunt a little too hard, but doesn't diminish the defensive efforts.
Off the end of the bat. All right, we'll go to the bottom of the 11th. Tied at 2.
New pitcher on the mound, and it is the left-hander Aaron Bummer. On for the 4th time, the ERA and even 6. He's got to deal with Benintendi, Nunez, and Moreland, who was in the game for Ramirez. He's now hitting in the 4th spot.
So here's Benintendi. Good ball game. Well, a lot of good plays in this game. A lot of excitement.
An excellent defense.
Good baseball game.
Yeah, it has been. A lot of strategy.
Andrew looking for his first hit. He is 0 for 4. Lined hard back to Rodon. If you're just tuning in, Carlos Rodon with 7 2/3 gave him 2 runs, 6 hits, no walks, and had 11 strikeouts. So Bummer, just 23 years old, 6'3", 200 pounds, out of Valencia, California. Cues that one right off the end of the bat. Bummer, who attended the University of Nebraska.
Something has come loose from the scoreboard. Looks like maybe a number.
Yeah.
It is. Well, it's number 3 and 4 depending. So.
You ever been inside the scoreboard?
I have.
Yeah. It's unique.
It is that.
Aaron, who missed the entire 2015 season, had surgery to remove loose bodies in his left forearm. Ball hit into center field. Adam is there. One out.
So in the 6th inning, leading off the inning, Nunez comes up and takes it out. Made it 2-1 at the time. Usually made it 2-2 at the time.
Well, he is been very productive his whole career against us. And that is a short little fly ball. Now here comes Leary. He's there, makes the catch. And that is out number 2. So here's Mitch Moreland.
He's getting his first at bat. He came in defensively. Taking the spot occupied by Hanley Ramirez. Moreland had a good night last night. A couple of doubles, 1 driven in and 1 scored.
Well, he is a dangerous hitter.
Not on that.
That's going to get a lot of left-handers right there. 2-1 to count, especially on a 2-0 count. There's another strike. Okay, Bummer's got that bit of a funky motion, especially to left-handed hitters.
He's got some deception and threw it in a perfect spot to Moreland.
Yeah, it looks like everything's coming at you. Arms, elbows, behind, everything. That ball hit deep. Way back. And this ball game is over. Dangerous hitter is Mitch Moreland.
He was that way with Texas and still that way.
Well, he's a dangerous guy. There's no question about it. You know, this was just a good baseball game. It's that simple. Rodon was awesome. He was just outstanding. There was good defense here. There was good execution on a lot of plays. It was just a good baseball game. They lost.
This was a game where you didn't beat yourself. You had a couple of opportunities, didn't cash them home against a good bullpen, and this ends at the Ford home run replay. It's opposite field, which Moreland has been doing. And as that toe has gotten better, he's taken it the other way, and that is the game winner, and that is that.
All right. All right. So for my partner, Steve Stone, our producer, Keon Dolashati, our director, Todd Benjaminson, our associate producer, the mayor, Mean Joe Crew, our technical manager, Mark Harper, also for Rick Smith, Eddie Gaines, Kelly Emerson, and also for the executive producer, Jim Corno Jr. This is a Hawk. So long, everybody. Coming up next is Subaru Postgame Live. You've been watching White Sox baseball on CSN Chicago.